Inc.
Back on the show, all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship, joined here in studio by Angelo Spyratos, an attorney and, frankly, an expert. I understand you do a lot of lecturing on the subject of litigation, and certainly that's a subject that most of us small business owners don't want to become too knowledgeable in, but sadly, we are not immune, Angelo, are we?
No, you're not. No, you're not. That's something that really prevents a business owner from focusing on their core business, and it's a distraction, and frankly, it could be pretty expensive.
Well, we appreciate you coming on Get Down to Business to talk to us about it. Angelo, so you have, as I understand, two offices, Chicago and DuPage. How did you get started?
So I've been an attorney for about 25 years, and I was part of a different firm for a period of time, and about the 1st of January of this year, myself and my partner, Kimberly Davis, spun off, and there's 11 lawyers at my firm, and we represent individuals and businesses in all kinds of litigation matters.
It sounds like it. So your offices are, I know you represent all sorts of different clients. Tell us about your specific focus. I know we all know attorneys. We know attorneys that help with divorce cases. We know attorneys that deal with various legal entities. You spend a lot of time in court, don't you? Tell us a little bit about some of the cases that you deal with and how they're relevant to small businesses.
Sure. Small businesses, typically their experience with attorneys have been with maybe attorneys that help them with contracts, with setting up a business. But our business is primarily litigation, which I know a lot of people hear about that, and I'm not sure if everybody knows what it is. But whenever you get involved in a proceeding in front of a court or an administrative agency or somewhere that requires somebody to advocate for you, to apply the law and to advocate a position for you so that some other group, whether it's a jury or a judge, make a decision about a dispute that people have. So
many business owners are very, very smart. They're very, very smart, and they manage to do a lot of things on their own. You go on... You turn on the TV and you see these very, very nicely produced advertisements for websites that start with an L, and the second word in the domain is Zoom. And people believe that, hey, I can handle this myself. I'll save a few bucks. I'm facing a challenge, a legal challenge in the business, but I can save money by doing it. What would you respond to them?
Well, there's an analogy that I like to use to some of my clients. The problem becomes that as smart as we may be as business owners, we don't always know the hazards and roadblocks and hurdles of litigation. So it would be as though if you identify a problem that you have, and it's going to lead to litigation, you really need to kind of focus or get an expert to help you with that. An analogy that I use is, God forbid you have a bump on your arm. You don't just go to a doctor and say, Doc, I need you to remove that lump for me, and when can we schedule the surgery? It's kind of like that. The problem with, I'm sure very well-meaning like LegalZoom, is that you probably don't have the expertise to understand what direction you should be going, what the risks are, the advantages. And I think getting some counsel from somebody who specializes in litigation, like myself or my partner and other attorneys in my firm, and at the beginning, it's not really that expensive. Most lawyers will probably do that for you for free to see if you really need additional representation.
So let's talk about that discussion process, because I think that's something that a lot of small business owners don't appreciate. Everybody's rushing. Everybody's moving so quickly. And when you're faced with a challenge, whether it's from a former employee, somebody in your office, maybe it's a client to customer issue, people are rushing. They want it resolved. They want it resolved now. What process do you recommend that when somebody's faced with a legal issue, or perhaps somebody needs to pursue a legal issue, how do they start, and what should that process look like as they follow that?
Well, hopefully that individual might have a contact or an attorney that they're working with, that they've worked with in the past. That probably should be your first step. And then talk to that attorney and see whether that attorney could either make a referral to somebody that they know. Most of those attorneys, we kind of have networks of other attorneys that we work with. We have people that we refer cases to that don't involve litigation, and likewise that becomes a reciprocal relationship. And it's important because, everybody might recall how there used to be a time of a general practitioner, kind of a jack of all trade, used to do everything for everyone. Well, that's really changed in today's legal environment. Even though Illinois doesn't recognize quote-unquote specialties, lawyers primarily throughout the state have chosen, certainly in the Chicago metropolitan area and in some of the more populated area, they've chosen to focus on something, a very specific practice.
So no such thing as a jack of all trades, master of none?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, there's still, you can probably go to a small town where that happens, where things don't get too complicated. Not to belittle that practice. It was a great practice, but times are changing. Technology is moving very, very fast. Legal issues are moving very fast. It's just not what it used to be, and it's probably good. And we're probably also consulting with each other as lawyers. We're talking to other lawyers.
Well, let's talk about that, because not every single case, in fact, I'm curious to hear your perspective on the statistics, not every case ends up in front of a jury with a settlement, or rather not necessarily as a jury deciding the case. Often because of attorneys knowing how to speak to each other, things can perhaps settle ahead of time?
Yeah, that's I don't have scientific information, but I would estimate it over my 25 years experience that 98% of cases will probably resolve without giving the decision to either a jury or to a court to decide for you. And that's really done because the litigants kind of want it to resolve that way.
So I'm curious about that. Angelo, you've been in practice for quite a while. You've been practicing law, and now obviously your firm, you and your partner, you have a great deal of experience. While you may be very comfortable in court, most small business owners are not. People don't want to end up in a courtroom in front of a judge. It's a terrifying process, quite a stressful process. I don't think you get stressed out quite in the same way that other small business owners might, because this is what you do. I get stressed out if somebody asks me to trim a hair on their face. I'm not a barber. That's why people go to you. Explain, I guess, why, again, why a small business owner, again, needs to use somebody like yourself that's knowledgeable and experienced in the ways of the court.
Sure. So I think you hit on something, Shalom, involving the stress associated to a small business owner, an individual that might be involved in litigation. It really is a stressful, emotional process. And what an attorney, a litigation attorney, can do for you is bring to the table not only a calmness, but maybe a rational, an unemotional, let's say, direction or decision. That can't really be underestimated. There are a lot of cases that I've handled over the course of my career that have been perpetuated by the emotions on each side. And I think a good attorney, a good counselor, a good litigator is probably going to try at the right time to say, maybe we can look at this a little bit more objectively.
And as you emphasized earlier, attorneys speak to each other. You speak the same language. And often by working with an attorney, you stand a better chance of, again, the non-emotional response, where there can actually be a conversation that likely will result in a huge cost savings, certainly a stress savings as well. I'm not sure if that's actually a term, but no doubt it can be helpful. So I want to sort of shift gears for a moment and talk about what tips you have for a small business owner that might be facing this challenge. What is the first thing that they should do if somebody is faced with the potential for litigation?
You should get advice early. It's the most important thing I can say is please talk to your attorney, get a referral to a litigation attorney, and have that discussion. I can't count the number of times people have sat in my office, and had they come to me a year ago earlier or a month earlier or tried not to do it themselves, we really could have saved them a lot of time and a lot of money.
Start that conversation early. Find an attorney, an experienced attorney like yourself. Angelo Spyratos, we appreciate your time. Great advice and great clarification on a field that I think people just think. I guess people are scared. People are scared of the subject, and I think you clarified a lot of that process. Hopefully, our listeners don't need to talk to you anytime too soon. But if they do, Angelo, how can they reach you?
Well, they can call me if they'd like at 630-434-0286. That rings right on my desk. Or they could check our website, which is spydavlaw.com.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate your time here in studio. Be sure to check back in with you and hopefully pick up some more tips, advice, and information. That's what we do here on Get Down to Business. Lots more tips, advice, and information for all you small business owners coming up right after this break. Don't touch that dial.
When you